Thank you, Tariq, Hadi, Muhammad, Fadi, and Mr. Omar for this very insightful panel. Our next session will be a fireside chat with the Wamda Group CEO. Conducting the interview will be Mr. Omar Christidis, founder and CEO of ArabNet, who will be joined by Fadi Ghandour, Executive Chairman of Wamda Group and the founder of Aramex. Please help me welcome them on stage.
Morning, everyone. Great to see everybody here bright and early. And thank you for joining us for the second day of the event. It's our privilege to have with us this morning Mr. Fadi Ghandour. Fadi is, in most places really needs no introduction, one of the most successful entrepreneurs turned into one of the most active investors in the region. Fadi is the founder of Aramex, built that into a publicly traded company, and now is really investing in the next generation of entrepreneurs through Wamda. And as Wamda, they have announced raising a $300 to $500 million fund. Maybe we'll get a chance to hear about more of that shortly. But let's start as well. Fadi, you were one of the investors as well in Souk.com was one of the investors in Souk.com initially. And we are talking about commerce. So, of course, the hot topic today is the entrance of two major players. One, Amazon, the acquisition of Souk, and two, Noon, right? And which recently got some money from Al-Shaya. So we're starting to see some really big alignments taking place in this space. Right. So my first question for you is, what does the entrance of Amazon, the launch of Souk, really mean for some of the smaller e-commerce players that are trying to make it here in the region?
So let's take the bigger picture than just focusing on the smaller e-commerce players.
Sure.
Because I think the Amazon and Noon and their competition in the market, and specifically Amazon's entrance to the market, means several things. One is a validation that this is a market that's important. So when Amazon comes and spends $700 million, and they're going to be spending much more than that in the coming 5 years, so you have to pay attention. This has a bigger consequence to the retail industry and the way we conduct business in the region than it does only influence the smaller e-commerce side. So if you look, and you don't need much intelligence to know what Amazon is going to do. You just need to look at what they've done in more developed markets, how they conducted themselves, how they have affected the retail market, and you will know that this has come to town. All right, this is no longer about a startup that is called Souk, who was raising some money here and there and scrambling to continue its growth. This is now a very serious and deep technology-based company that is taking the regional retail market very seriously. So that is something that requires a lot of attention in the retail market. Now, for smaller e-commerce companies, I think if you're focused on specific verticals, if you have your niche, if you're not going to be horizontal, I don't think anybody should be in the horizontal e-commerce business. That's a no. Get out of that one. But if you're going to focus on specific niches, then it works. The US is full of e-commerce sites that are specific to certain segments, to certain products, to certain industries. So that doesn't worry me. So if you're an entrepreneur and want to venture there, you should venture there. Now, Noon is a startup with $1 billion. So that's a unique startup. I haven't seen any startup like it in the world. So it can claim that it wants to do a horizontal it can claim that it wants to compete with Amazon. So you're going to see those two platforms clashing massively. Muhammad Al-Abbar yesterday, if you read the news in Dubai, came out and said, we're not quoting him. This is a quotation. We are not going to allow Amazon to control our markets. That's a big statement. And I think at the end of the day, it's the client and the consumer that decides who controls the market. It's the quality of the product, it's the service that you're offering, and it's a selection that you have that gets you, and the user experience that can give you the claim to control or own or even service any market that you want. So watch out for that space. It's going to be an exciting time, and I think the consumers are going to be the biggest beneficiaries. But there is going to be massive amounts of money and a lot of casualties along the way in the next 5 years, I'd say, for this industry.
So I'm really interested in this, right? And they're going to duke it out. They're going to fight. It's going to be a huge...
It's already there. Because
it's going to be a huge battle.
You know, the minute Amazon Noon announced its launch, Amazon Souk automatically went out with a massive discount program. So just to disrupt and delay and change the narrative, if you want.
So, but my question here is, this fight is going to open new opportunities.
Yeah, I mean...
who might benefit from this? What kind of opportunities might arise for us knowing that this big competitive war is going to happen? We've said now the opportunities might be in really focused niche verticals. That's available.
But also look at the supporting industries. Look at the last mile startups. There's going to be massive amounts of last mile logistics startups. The logistics industry, well, I come from that industry, is being disrupted massively. Not by small companies. It's being disrupted by the presence of e-commerce and the requirements to deliver for e-commerce. That's where the industry is being challenged. It is at capacity. It cannot handle the amount of work that is coming to the market because of e-commerce. It cannot. And then Amazon is going to come with a proposition that's going to say, I'm going to deliver your package within 2 hours. So that puts a massive amount of strain on the logistics space. So you're going to see a lot of startups that should be technology heavy, artificial intelligence, supply chain, if you want, optimization, that allows the e-commerce players to have a seamless, incredible experience for its clients. So your hyper-local deliveries, more payments online, solving the payments problems. So the surrounding industries are going to be having a boom, I think. This is exciting times for that space. Yeah, I'm not worried about Amazon. I'm not in the retail business, obviously, but if you are, watch out.
Well,
and Mohammed al-Shaya and the Shaya group coming on Noon, by the way, is a proposition of Noon. It's not about Shaya investing in Noon. It's about Shaya using Noon as its marketplace. I mean, I think that's what's happening. It's the marketplace, and Noon's proposition today is going to be, we are the regional marketplace for the regional players that have products that want to be online. So instead of Shaya going out and building his own e-commerce capability, he's going on Noon. I mean, that's the story.
And you expect to see...
And it's a natural. So he says, so the Noon guys are going to say, we built the technology, we built the logistics, come and sit on top of it.
You expect to see more of the region's big retailers joining Noon?
Possible. I mean, I think it's one way. There's also a Tire in Dubai. They've launched their own e-commerce capability. So you have the option. If you feel you want to do it by yourself, again, back to the story. This is about user experience. This is about buyers. This is about your proposition and how you think you want to differentiate yourselves. Look at the Shalhoub Group. Shalhoub Group has massive amounts of luxury goods and products. We haven't seen their serious presence in that marketplace. So in Saudi Arabia, you're going to see a lot of the big retailers paying attention to that space. The people that own the malls need to find a way to attract people to come to the mall other than just simply to go to fast food restaurants also. So, I mean, we're facing the digital challenge that the world has faced a little bit earlier than we did. But خلاص, يعني, like everything digital, when it has arrived, it's going to go exponential.
Let's shift gears a little bit, right? Today, you are one of the region's biggest VCs, and we've had the privilege of having you at our events in 2010, first event that we did 7-8 years ago, and the market was tiny. I mean, when we talked about someone raised $1 million, that was a celebration,
yes,
right? MEVP had maybe $25 million. Your first fund, how big was that?
17, 18.
17, 18 million dollars. Today we're seeing announcements of funds in the hundreds of millions of dollars, right? I see Walid Ballah here in the first row. ST Ventures has announced $500 million. We have MEVP and Mohammed Al-Abbar, a new alliance, $250 million. Yourself, I know there was a press release. Maybe we'll ask you to clarify about this.
There was never a press release. So there was somebody that wrote a story that we're raising $200 to $500 million. That's not true.
Okay. So maybe you can clarify.
No, and I can't speak when, we have to be careful. Fundraising has a legal implication. We're raising a fund that's much less than $500 million, probably closer to 200, but that's all I can say about it.
Well, look, even if it's 200, you're 200 plus MEVP 250 plus ST Ventures 500 plus the other money we're hearing. We're talking about now over $1 billion available in this market.
Or more than that.
Right. And
$1 billion is there's much more than
there is way much more than this, right? But even just these three funds with $1 billion.
Right.
So my question for you is, what are the implications of this movement to much larger fund sizes and all of this extra liquidity in the market?
Omar, we shouldn't be surprised about this. So when I first started investing in the days of Maktoub back in the year 2000, some of you were not around in the year 2000. So there was only one company, or another company was called Arabia Online. There were two companies, one survived, one died, and the rest is history. Maktoub got sold to Yahoo. There was nothing happening until 1999. And then after 1999, with the sale of Yahoo, a lot of people graduated from Maktoub and started their own businesses. There's at least 15 to 20 companies, one of them is Su, that were graduates of Maktoub. By definition, the digital space is happening. So it's about mobile, it's about being connected, it's about a generation that's already spending, transacting online. The world is so much different, which means there are more startups, and then when there are more startups, there will be more money, and there will be much more money, and the world is about the post-oil economies of the region, which means digital economies, which means knowledge economies, which means more money from government, attention from private sector who are getting disrupted. So this is not only about VCs, by the way. Mohammed Al-Abbar is investing in VCs, not only because it's VCs, but because he is in the business that is getting challenged. You will see more family offices, more retailers, more STCs of this world launching their own venture, internal corporate funds, because innovation is starting and happening in smaller companies, Omar. Big companies don't innovate. They are slow. They don't feel the squeeze and the pinch that the digital space is moving and the speed that it's moving in. So it means you'll have more startups. You'll have more startups failing, and you will have more successes. So. It's, again, nothing that I'm going to tell you that didn't happen in other parts of the world. You have seen it, and specifically in the US, in Asia, it's happening. So, and it has arrived to our shores, and we should celebrate it, and we should engage it, and we should not be shying away from startups that get money and fail.
So, but in the same way that we said noon, Amazon, war, does this mean you've got now a few big VCs, and there's going to be some very heated competition? Because so far, the VC industry has been very collaborative. A lot of co-investments, a lot of deal sharing, a lot of information, knowledge sharing. With all of this money, do we expect to see a much more heated competition? Already there is a positioning of Wamda versus Mohammed Al-Abbar, MEVP, is emerging.
No. That last statement doesn't work for me.
Okay.
No,
I want to get a rise out of you a little bit.
Well, I'm good friends with Mohammed Al-Abbar. Don't get me in trouble.
You can be frenemies.
No. I think you will see more collaboration because most of these VCs are early stage VCs, which means they don't necessarily and have no ability or don't want to be gobbling all the rounds. So if you're raising $10 million, not all VCs want to actually get all $10 million. They might share their deals. But you will see a little bit more proprietary deals, which is fine. That is, the nature of competition in the marketplace. So it's not relevant, in my view.
Okay.
I mean, we might, look, competition in the VC business if you want my opinion, is not about how much money you have. It's how do you actually attract the best companies to come and work and seek your money, not because they only want your money, because money is available anywhere today. It is because you are the VC that is going to help them grow, you're going to add value, and you're going to do stuff for them that is not only about money. Because money doesn't add value. Money is money. If you don't know how to grow your business, if you don't know how to streamline your operations, if you don't have the experience in understanding the crazy complexities of doing business in this region, you're not going to be successful. So a VC requires, and I'm saying this to my friends in the VCs, if you're only a money person, go get differentiated. Build your team differently. With all due respect and love for money people, you're not going to make it in the VC world if you're only about money. The VC world and our startups in the region require massive amounts of help. This is not Silicon Valley. This is not where you start a business, you only need an idea, you need some money, and then voila, you have a market of 350 million people in the largest economy in the world. They have it easy. They have it easy. When people say, how can we replicate Silicon Valley? I say, open up the borders, allow people money and goods to travel freely across our economies. Then we have 350 million people, and we have a $2 trillion economy, and then compare us to Silicon Valley, or compare us to China, or compare us to India. We're not comparable today because we are 22 countries, and it is a different regulatory environment in every single country. Imagine what knowledge the startup or the entrepreneur that's launching a new business needs to know in legal, in operations, in recruiting, by country, that the other guys in more developed markets don't face. So there's an education. So the VCs needs to be the mature hands that are gonna show these VCs and shortcut their challenge of becoming regional players.
Amazing. You make my job so easy, Fadi. I just sit here and you talk.
I talk.
Yeah, that's
you give me a microphone, I'm gonna talk.
I love it. I love it. Okay, good. Let's again switch gears a little bit. Sectors that you think are really hot that you're excited about investing in these days.
So I think, again, this is infrastructure, what I call it, really early stage infrastructure. So the markets and the economy and the digital businesses are just happening. So e-commerce is exciting. I continue to get excited about it. Fintech, payment, disrupting banks, peer-to-peer lending, lovely. You know, the banks don't lend for small and medium-sized enterprises. They don't lend to people. It's only 4% of the balance sheets or the lending of banks that go to SMEs. Look at, there's 280, they say $300 billion of a gap of lending to SMEs. So you'll see more peer-to-peer lending. The regulatory environment will happen. Blockchain, Bitcoin, it's, again, everything digital use. It's starting slow here, but it's going to be arriving very quickly. Media, digital media, I'm excited about. Some enterprise work, AI work will pop up now, machine learning stuff. So we saw 700 companies this year now. By the end of the year, we'd see 1,200 companies, meaning they come, they pitch.
100 companies a month, 3 for 20 working days, 5 companies a day.
Absolutely. Between calls and meetings, my team is constantly busy in actually interviewing. We look like a dentist place. So there is a half hour, and then every Thursday we see a group of people that come and visit and pay attention. So and we think that will double next year. So that means in every single area, you're going to see startups popping up. So the key industries that feel comfortable, you're going to see startups challenging them. So this is an exciting time across the board. So I'm not going to tell you there is certain areas that are less exciting than others.
Amazing. Okay, good. So again, we started ArabNet 2010. Here we are today in 2017. The ecosystem has changed dramatically. When we have our research about the investment landscape, from 2009 to today, we've had 15 times increase in the number of investors. right? We've identified over 150 investors today, institutional investors, and over 700 ecosystem support organizations across the region. With this development, where are there still gaps? Where do you see there are still challenges or issues?
In the ecosystem, you mean?
Yes, in the ecosystem.
So again, as I had mentioned earlier, the regulatory environment is still very challenged. Some governments move faster than others. I don't want to be challenging governments here, but you know, the regulatory environment helps startups happen. If you ease the way people do business in your country, you're going to see a lot more happening, and you're going to see jobs. If your challenge in government is to create jobs for the young people that are graduating from our universities, ease up the registration, the bankruptcy laws, everything that has to do with that. It is not developed enough. So that continues to be a challenge. We need more money. I mean, you say there's money. If you take as what the VC industry and the early stage industry in the United States as a percentage of GDP and how much money that goes into that space, we are still way behind as a percentage of our GDPs. So $1 billion, yes, sounds a lot of money, but remember, Kareem alone raised $500 million last year. So one company took $500 million, and $500 million is spread across thousands of other companies. That's minute. Talent, access to talent. Talk to every startup in the region, they'll tell you we are unable to attract talent. Why? Not because there is no talent in the region, even though it is under strain, but there is a competition between the big companies and the small and the startups. If you graduate from college, do you want to work for Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Kuwait Petroleum, or do you want to work for a startup you've never heard of? That sexiness, excuse the language, of working for startups has not arrived to the region yet, even though some techies like it, but it's not as sexy, as interesting, as secure. And it's probably not secure for somebody to go and jump into working for a startup, even though I think the learning and the experience of actually building a company is far superior for working for a traditional established company. There isn't much that you're going to do in a big company. You will not feel your impact there. If you go to a startup, you're going to feel your impact. You're going to enjoy it. The way startups do business, the way they are in tune with the 21st century is very interesting. That's unless you are part of a group or a team in a big company that's going to disrupt the original business. But that's a challenge. So talent, access to market, access to capital, and the regulatory environment continue. This has, when I established Aramex in 1983, the same challenges in logistics I still see today. Imagine, that's 36 years ago, 35. Well, it hasn't changed. I can tell you the same issues I faced in 1984 in customs. I still face exactly the same. I mean, Aramex does. Not me. They still face exactly the same issues.
Well, look, the only thing, the caveat that I'll add is if you're going to work at a startup, yes, it can be amazing and awesome, but it can also mean إنه أمرار عم بتمسحوا الأرض. So, right?
Yeah, and you have to do that. Look,
yes.
if you don't clean the warehouse, you're not going to be able to serve your clients properly. So this is not about the glory of running a business. Look, starting a business, being an entrepreneur, and most of you probably were, or some of you that are entrepreneurs, it is one heck of a difficult thing to do. I mean, you'd better be ready for a rough
Yes.
ride, sleepless nights, delay in paying salaries, begging to raise money. There's nothing glamorous about it. When you make it, everybody celebrates you, but nobody knows how many beatings and how many rejections and how many failures you faced until you have arrived to that celebration. So but that's life at the end of the day. Nothing comes easy.
So, government, you mentioned one thing that government should do.
Yeah, don't put me in trouble more than...
I won't put you in that much trouble. Well, you'll have to decide how much trouble to put yourself in. Government, today we're seeing across the region the launch of government programs to support digital innovation, knowledge economy. We've got Vision 2030, National Transformation Program, the Kuwait National Fund, Circular 331. Literally, it's almost everywhere that we look.
No.
What do you believe the role of government should be?
I think government should be an enabler. Government should also, I'll venture into saying something that I did not encourage too much before, but I think government is the most patient capital. If you want to nurture the startup, early stage tech entrepreneurship in the region, then government needs to find a way to deploy capital, very patient capital, in the startup world. The private sector is not going to be as adventurous as the public sector in terms of its patience. If you look at the United States, if you look at Google, if you look at even Apple, you will find that a lot of the technology inside these companies were built by research that was initiated by government, by DARPA. And that was very patient capital that was not meant to be commercialized, and then entrepreneurs come and commercialize. So governments need to think long and hard about what they're going to do with their sovereign wealth funds. Are they going to continue to be investing them outside of the region, or are they going to find a pocket that is going to bet on the future of the region? A pocket. We're not asking for that more than $1.5 trillion that are invested outside of the region. Nobody's saying don't diversify. I'm saying a small pocket, a couple of $1 billion, maybe $10 billion, if you invest it in the region, you're going to transform this region and take it to the next level. It's not going to happen only by hopes and aspirations. It requires very patient capital that gets us to where we want in the coming 10 years.
Amazing. So I'm going to wrap up here. I want to see if there's any last words that you would like to tell to entrepreneurs or business people in the audience. We're going to have a break after this. I know there's going to be a lot of people very interested to meet you and ask you more questions. I don't have the time to open it to questions.
No questions.
There can be lots of questions after. I'm sure we're going to have an audience right here next to the stage with Fadi. I welcome you all to do that and ask him all of your questions and get a chance to meet him. But from my side, I'll give you a chance, any final words that you would give to the entrepreneurs or business people in the audience before we wrap up.
So be patient, build your business, build it to last, don't build it to exit. Don't fall into the hype. That won't work. Focus on building the team and making it happen, and think that this is a career. When I built my business in Aramex, I exited 35 years later. And when I exited, it was a successful business and it had 18,000 people in it. So think that way. Think that I am building a business that is going to last, and you're going to have generations of people that are going to run it. And then eventually exits will come for you. So don't build to exit, build to last.
Thank you, Fadi.
Thank you, Omar and Fadi, for this very intense talk. This is just a kind reminder to download the app so you can keep track of what's happening in both halls. We've got a very exciting program in both rooms. We're off for a little coffee break. We'll be back in 30 minutes and for the next panel discussion on digital banking and innovation. Thank you, and we'll see you in half an hour.